pause. All right.
I had to mute in the middle of that because
Why?
I just heard Kayla repeatedly screaming "fuck" upstairs. I can't.
She really gets into her football, doesn't she?
Oh, she absolutely does, and it's funny too because I've never been around whenever there's any sort of football game, really, let alone a playoff game. Oh no. And the time that I came downstairs, they've already the Chiefs are up 2 touchdowns already. Oh, it's bad. It's that escalated very quickly. Oh, she's so upset. Hey,
you're gonna walk into an REM video upstairs when you're done.
I'm probably gonna be able to dodge the majority of this game down here in the podcast. I'm just gonna be aggressively muting when she starts screaming.
You're welcome.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zach Riot with Old Man Gaming, and you have decided to tune into, for whatever reason, another Horrible Gaming Podcast. But I am not alone, nor am I ever. With me is
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
And, we're just here to run down all the dumbness in games. I think we should stop calling ourselves a news show and just be like, we pluck dumbness and then talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think being a news show was ever an apt descriptor.
No. I mean, we talk about the news, and there are people who get their news from us. God help them.
There is talking about news, and there is actual news.
Well, that's fair. But we at least with the odds and ends, there are certain people who have told me that we keep them apprised of certain details that they would not get otherwise.
That's fair.
But before we get into the chaos that is this show, we've got to hand out a couple of credits to the people who helped make it happen. Number one, if you are watching this on YouTube, behind the fancy graphics, you are seeing... said that wrong. Behind the fancy timestamps, you're seeing fancy graphics. Any of those that I did not directly rip from the internet like the thief I am were provided custom to us by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all of our shows here at OMG are provided by the man who makes the music, my brother, Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Alright, so that brings us to our first segment, our most important segment by far. That is Fan-teraction. That's where us, the co-hosts, we talk to you guys, the fans. We read out your comments in all the places we find them. We also use one of them as the talk down. All that fun stuff. So, let's go ahead and get into it. Our talk down comment, I'm not going to read. I've decided I'm not going to read it during the Fan-teraction. Because we're going to use it at talk down, it's redundant. So, Asylum66 gave us a talk down, so we're gonna come back to that comment when we go to the talk down. Need to make sure there's nothing in the podcast thread on Discord, and it's just a repeat. Okay. All right. So, of course, we had William Hoon. Hi! Exclamation point. Hello, William. Neil. That vacuum sucks joke. Chef's kiss. He loved your dad joke.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm over here serving up them spicy meatballs. Jokes.
I did not care for it. I agree with Neil. Sword Art games mostly for the fans of the show. And then he says, thanks for the show. Thank you, William, for listening and commenting. We appreciate it. Then we go into Jason Pokebutts. He is referring specifically to the season finale of Stella's show. I urge everybody to go check it out. My daughter is quite obsessed with taking pictures of Pokemon's butts or Pokemon that looks like they're pooping in Pokemon Snap. That's her favorite thing to do. Yes. So there is a lot of that in the Stella Show finale. Sorry for the early plug, but I had to explain it. Jason then says, "The cake is a lie." The cake is indeed a lie, Jason. We had a bunch of episodes where we talked about cake, though. That's what we were referring to, but thank you for your addition. Jason then continues, "Until we have ASIST or holodecks, VR don't interest me. I cannot wait for the fucking day we have a holodeck, and it probably won't be in my lifetime, but holodecks. You've watched Star Trek before, right?"
I didn't ever really cared for it, but I know, yes, I know of.
Yeah.
I know of a holodeck.
The holodecks are the best. It's like you go into the holodeck and then it like creates a world around you. It's amazing. Yeah. That's the VR I want. I'm with you, Jason. I don't want a clunky headset. I don't want to get motion sickness every time I turn around. Jason then continues, "I know people who like World War I and World War II stuffed to death. But like generic medieval fantasy, World War II specifically burnt me out." And I kind of get that. I totally get that. He's referring to him saying last week that it was another boring World War II game when we were talking about Enlisted. And Asylum66 actually responded to it. "I agree 100%. Enlisted was different enough, though, to grab and hold my attention." So that was his response. All wonderful discourse in our comment section. And then Jason is also our final commenter. Players, and this is something I kind of want to discuss in fan interaction a little bit. This was almost the talk down. Player resentment toward Rockstar about the lack of attention to GTA's red-headed stepbrother has been growing more and more. I'll throw you a link on Discord. Anybody in our Discord can go ahead and check that out on the podcast feed. But basically what Jason was referring to with the Red Dead Revolution, and after I recorded that podcast, Jason, I actually went and checked it out and saw what it was. And funny enough, we actually, our most recent music video with my brother's music, we actually hashtagged it Save Red Dead Online. But there's a hashtag for Red Dead Online, Save Red Dead Online, where basically people are trying to get a groundswell to get Rockstar to show more attention to, I'm sorry, I'm going to get hate for this, but the superior online game in their entourage. It's superior to GTA in a lot of ways. GTA is just more popular. So, I don't know. Have you heard about the Save Red Dead Online?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I honestly kind of forgot that Red Dead even had an online mode until you were
that's
talking
the problem.
about the posse thing the other day, or the last. Was it last time that we recorded?
Yeah. I mean, I've been talking about it for a while. We did nominate Red Dead Online in the Horrible Game Awards, so you had to have at least known about it then.
Right, but that's the point that I'm making is like, you know, you don't hear anything about it.
No.
I mean, Rockstar is still, you know, cramming GTA 5 down our throats.
Well, and
the last other thing that it wasn't directly them, but tried to do GTA related was that trilogy that turned out god-awful.
Oh man, that's a nightmare. Yeah, in my opinion, Rockstar's stock has quietly dropped a little bit, personally. You know, as far as like putting out perfect games and whatnot. Like that last GTA trilogy was a fucking nightmare, and then GTA 5 has some serious issues. And what's interesting about this whole thing is, while Red Dead Online does not have the player base that GTA 5 does, a lot of people on Red Dead Online attribute that to like Rockstar does not show it any love. It doesn't do any big updates. It doesn't do anything. It just does like a few cosmetic stuff here and there, and their updates are now monthly, and it's just not showing it any love whatsoever. There's no content there, whereas GTA 5 just gets all this content heaped on its head. But at the same time, GTA 5 has GTA Online has some huge technical issues. Like Red Dead Online has tackled a lot of the griefing issues that GTA 5 does. And while GTA 5 has bigger player base, there is just tons of griefing going on. If you're a popular streamer who does GTA 5, people will just follow you around griefing you because they know where you are. You can also see everybody on the map there, whereas Red Dead Online was like you can only see people when you're close to them. And then on top of that, GTA 5 has some way where you can actually chase people through servers. So like if I'm getting griefed too much here, I'm going to switch servers. Somebody can just follow me to the server that I went to. Whereas with Red Dead Online, you can't. If you get griefed at all, you switch servers and they're done. I've been playing Red Dead Online for a while. I've been griefed all of twice. And those griefs were, like, it was no more than just fighting off a couple of extra bandits, because usually we were in a posse and they fucked off anyway. Or if they attacked us more than twice, we just switched servers, you know? So I don't know. I think that Rockstar should show Red Dead some more love. I think it's a more interesting subject matter, a more interesting game overall. And with some love, it could be a really good game, you know?
Yeah,
so,
I think it just comes down to what makes more money.
I mean, it does. My problem is, though, is just because GTA 5 doesn't make them, just because GTA 5 makes them more money, it does not mean that Red Dead Online isn't making them money. There is still a player base there. They are still spending money there. And, like, why you would, like, you're cutting off money by not putting anything there. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I'm announcing this now. We support hashtag Save Red Dead Online. Just want to say that 100%. Yes, Jason, I am in the Red Dead revolution. 100%. But that's our last fan interaction, man. You want to move to our talk down?
Sure.
Alrighty.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Alright, that brings us to the talk down. The talk down is a quick 10, maybe plus, maybe less minute segment before we get into our talking point.
Quick
10-ish. 10-ish.
Maybe-ish.
We try to keep it a tight 10. Who knows what happens, though. But we usually pick a comment out of our commenters to basically spiral off.
One whole content.
Neil, you're really having an adverse effect on the tight 10 here right now. We
I
usually
am an adverse effect to all things.
For fuck's sake. We usually spiral this off into just a quick tight 10 minutes at one comment. That comment comes from Asylum66. Days Gone would have been better with reviews, but the first few hours or so of the game is really bad. I was hating it. The game does get much better at a certain point. I don't have Stockholm Syndrome. The game seriously feels like two different writers and actors. Controls are what they are. I love old Resident Evil, so I have no room to talk about controls. Okay, alright. So, the Days Gone thing, I got into a big rant about it last week because Jeff Ross is a bag of fucks in another bag of asses. And basically, when I listen back, I kind of got a little crazy with the rants. And I don't think I got my point across specifically. So, Days Gone is probably an okay game. I have not personally played Days Gone. I have only read the reports about it, watched the reviews, that sort of thing. It's a PlayStation exclusive. I don't even have a way to get it. I don't know. Is it on PC now? I don't think did it come out on PC?
I don't know. I don't think it did.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. I wanna make myself clear because sometimes I get tired. Sunday night I get tired and I get ranty, and when I get tired and ranty, sometimes things don't mesh up the right way. I have a problem with Jeff Ross because his first response to Days Gone sales or whatever was that he blamed people for, like, actual fans of the game for buying the game on sale. He blamed people for buying the game at reduced prices. That was the first problem I had with Jeff Ross, is that it wasn't making great numbers. And he got very upset because people were buying it at half price. And that if people wanted to see a sequel to it, they should spend full price for the game, even if it's half off or it's a PlayStation Game of the Month or whatever. That is deplorable. You then add in the fact, this whole thing, Days Gone is probably a serviceable game. It's probably very playable. However, it did have bugs. It did have control issues. And it lives in an ecosystem where reviews are hard to get rid of. His problem, his whole thing was 8 million copies sold was the same amount for Ghost of Tsushima as this one. Ghost of Tsushima is hailed as this great game. Days Gone is looked on dourly. Days Gone was delayed repeatedly. When it came out, it had a lackluster review, but it was overhyped to the point where it made those sales right away, and a lot of people don't go back and ask for refunds because they can't. PlayStation has a very hard refund system, and if it did come out on PC, that means you got 2 hours in the game to decide you don't like it or not. And Days Gone is a huge narrative. There's no way you could do that. So refunds aren't issues. On top of that, I also want to point out, and I'm pretty sure this is right. Somebody can stop me if I'm wrong, but if a game is sold new and then that person takes and trades it into GameStop, it doesn't count against the amount sold. So like, it still counts like 8 million sold. Like, they don't then like minus the ones that were traded back into GameStop to get money back. So like, on a whole, the 8 million sold from Ghost of Tsushima is a better 8 million than Days Gone, because we live in an ecosystem where people can't say, hey, this product wasn't good enough for me. It also was overhyped. This guy overhyped his game. He repeatedly delayed it. Then he blamed consumers, and then he blamed PlayStation for everything. Whereas he didn't look inward and say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I did the wrong thing here. So I just want to say, I don't necessarily think, because I did rant and say the game was shit. And I can't really speak to that. That was an in the moment kind of angry yelling. But what I do know is that game had more controversy than Ghost of Tsushima. The number of games sold is not a factor we can look at in today's games market. It just isn't. You look at Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk had a ton of games sold. That was a nightmare. It was a nightmare release. It's because almost sometimes the games that are with the highest sell rates are the bigger catastrophes, because people are locked into it and they feel so much more outraged when it goes bad. So I don't know if I'm articulating this right, but I just want to clarify my statements. I think Jeff Ross blamed the consumers, then he blamed PlayStation, and really the only person he should be looking at is himself for what he produced. And I don't think numbers, just two numbers on a piece of paper, accurately define success and success or failure, especially in the games market nowadays. I think PlayStation lost more money on Days Gone than it did in Ghost of Tsushima, regardless of numbers sold. So that's my take on it. What do you? I just wanted to clarify that, Neil. I hope you think I articulated that right. I was trying to.
Yeah, no, I 100% get what you're saying. Now,
okay,
that I did look to. It is on Steam, so it does exist on Steam. Now,
still notoriously hard to get refunds through Steam. I can tell you because I'm still waiting for my Cyberpunk refund, which I will never get.
One point that I would contend with what you just said is sales, when you're looking at sales and when you're considering a sequel. So, like you said, whenever somebody buys a game used, it's not like a strike against anybody. It's not like negative sales. From what he is saying and from what we've seen with other game series, you buy the game new, that's your sale that's recorded. If people then wait for it to go on sale to buy it at a discount, there could be, let's just say 4 million people who go to buy it used. So the number of people who have actually played the game in this case would be like 12 million as opposed to the 8 million.
Okay.
So, I mean, the used game thing, it is definitely a metric that companies have to look at, unfortunately, due to that lovely thing called capitalism that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
They have to look at that sort of stuff. So like Metroid is one of them. Before Dread, the last Metroid game that we had was the remake of Samus Returns.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, God, what was before that? I think before that was Metroid Prime 3. So we were many, 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 many years without a Metroid game. And it was even said across the industry, like, if you want another Metroid game, go out and buy Samus Returns. And people didn't necessarily do that. So as a result, we didn't think that we were going to get ourselves another Metroid game. Now, it was just taking a shot in the dark here. 6-7 years between that remake for the 3DS and Dread. Dread has come out, and Dread is the fastest selling Metroid game ever in the history of the series. Mm-hmm. So now, of course, Nintendo is forced to look at that as like, hey, this is something that people actually like and actively want. Okay. So we take that process and we apply it to Days Gone. So, yeah, Days Gone didn't sell, well, but you look at the numbers between Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone, and you look at the critical review. Like you said, you can't necessarily look just at the sales numbers. Right. That's only part of the entire picture. Right. You have to look at the reviews. You have to look at what people are saying. Right. And I was reading an article the other day. I'm pretty sure it was him said that the end of that game, the final boss, sucked ass. Like, if he's even sitting there actively talking shit about his game, like there's reflection and thinking back on the process. And then there's you causing this whole fuss about, everybody talks bad about this game. It was so good. It was so great. And then literally a week later say, yeah, the end of it kind of really fucking sucked though. Right. Like at that point, you don't necessarily have a leg to stand on. Right. Because you're over here bashing your own stuff. It is one thing to criticize something to make it better or to criticize it to learn and grow from it. Right. And the criticisms that he is leveling are not necessarily inward, introspection, like what could I have done better? This, that, and the other. No, it's your fault. No, it's their fault. Oh, everybody's out to get me. Like chances are he may realize that it's not necessarily the greatest, judging by his recent comments that I was just talking about, and he doesn't want to admit it. And if that's the case, bro, grow up. Right. But, at the same time, like, I get the argument that he has been making overall, but like
I think it's nearsighted, though. I think the argument is nearsighted.
That's what it is. Right. Yeah, it's a nearsighted argument.
It's a cop-out. It's an easy way to take a number to make yourself look better without looking at the entire metric of those two games.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I the other thing is, too, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to say, I can't say this enough. Games, we're in an age where game developers are being pushed to provide games that aren't necessarily even possible with the technology we have, with the amount of time we have, with the budget we have, that sort of thing. So I feel like we've entered this age of more bugs, of more kind of rough releases, rocky starts, which I'm much more forgiving with if you handle it right. And, I go back to this all the time, but it's because it's the one example that I can really think of a company fucking up right off the bat and fixing it, and it's No Man's Sky. Look, Sean Murray overhyped that game. He took way long to buy it. He did basically everything that Cyberpunk and Days Gone did wrong. The difference is when the shit hit the fan, instead of saying, oh, it's their part. Oh, it's this reason. Oh, it's fuck these people. What they did was they shut up and they fixed the game as fast as humanly possible. And now that game is playable and popular. If Days Gone had come out to a rocky reception and Jeff Ross had stand up there and said, you know what, it's got some problems, we're going to fix it, and then fixed it, sure, that doesn't excuse the release, but we would definitely be having a different conversation today. But instead, he gets on his bandstand and he blames everybody else, and that's just not the way to handle it. It was the same thing. It wasn't the same thing. He wasn't as egregious about it, but you remember when Jorgelson for Forgelson, the leader of CDPR, came on and started blaming other people via like Twitter and stuff. We talked about that a bit.
Oh yeah, I remember a little bit of that. And that's the thing is, like, you start pointing fingers.
Yep.
We all know from growing up, because we were all children at one point or another, when you start pointing fingers at other people, sure, in some instances there may be fault. But if that's your immediate knee-jerk reaction and you can't take responsibility for your involvement in an issue or a problem or anything that happens, then that is when you start looking like a child.
Right. Yeah. And we have an industry that's notoriously unfair to the consumer. I don't think the first thing you should do is blame them. You can't sit up there and tell us how good something is, and then when it comes out and it's not great, and we purchase it, and we can't get money back for it, and the only response is it's our fault, that makes us angry, and that's the industry that the games has provided to us, and I don't know, that's kind of shameful, but I've said everything I need to say about this. Have you said everything? We can go to talking point.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's move on to the talking point. And thank you for your comment, Asylum. I do want to say real quick, Asylum has been commenting for some time now. And I just want to say thank you, Asylum. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being part of the channel. I hope we are entertaining you. And I just want to say, if we're not entertaining you, you do not have to listen or comment. Just want to put that out there, but I very much appreciate it. All right, so let's go to the first talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our talking points. And it's an interesting talking point. I think we're going to go a little loose with this.
It's a dumb talking point.
It is a dumb talking point.
We
got a lot of dumb. We got a lot of dumb coming out. So it's twofold. We've got stupid on all sides of the fence. On the PlayStation side, they have decided to make more PlayStation 4s to somehow combat the demand of the PlayStation 5, which I've got a lot of negative stuff to say about that. And then on the other side, Xbox decides to discontinue a bunch of systems that are completely and totally still viable because of their specific ecosystem. The Xbox One is no longer, all the Xbox Ones have been discontinued to make Xbox Series X's and S's, even though they purposely went out of the way to make everything forwards and backwards compatible. So where do you want to start in this clusterfuck, Neo? This was your idea. I mean, yeah, I saw this and was hoping you'd pick it, but why don't you start us off?
It's funny too. I actually meant to message back when you had said that you were thinking about this too, because this is one of those like weird same wavelength things.
I think so.
We happen to do from time to time.
I think so.
But you know what? Let's just start with the PlayStation end of things. Like,
sure, I'm totally okay with that.
Like, I'm gonna start off playing devil's advocate to some degree with this.
All right.
I understand they originally had planned on cutting off the production of the PlayStation 4 at the end of last year. So it was just going to be PS5s, and they were just going to run through the last of the PS4s that they have. But they have turned around and decided to keep making PS4s. I don't know if it's exclusively PS4 Pros, but, given the fact for the next year, they've basically confirmed that every single game that's coming out, with a few exceptions, are going to be on PS4 as well. Coupled with the fact that this past holiday season, I don't know if you had seen or not, PS4s were in such demand that they were beginning to be scalped as well for like $500 for a standard slim. So, I mean, I get that from that angle. That also said, why on God's green earth are you going to, you've built your entire generation saying, like, we don't believe, in like the previous generation when a new console comes out, like that's what we're going with. Obviously, we have in the past, we've had, a little overlap year to where, there's stuff coming out on both. But your entire thing is the complete diametric opposite of what Microsoft is doing, and you've been very vocal about that. So because you can't keep up with producing your next gen / now current gen consoles, you're going to extend the life of the previous gen another year to what? Satiate the decision that you made to go against everything you were saying by putting Horizon, God of War, everything like that on the
Which
PS4,
we've talked about before.
That is absolutely beyond me. I mean, company's gonna company and they're gonna make money. One way or another, it's gonna happen. But this is such a bizarre decision. I don't know. I don't manufacture consoles, so I don't know. Why can't you just use the PS4, like the semiconductors to make PS5s? Unless there's other things you can't get a hold of. Like, yeah, sure, you might be able to, let's say, you use less silicone to make the semiconductors for the PS4s as opposed to the PS5s overall. So instead of making 10 PS4s, why don't you make 5 PS5s?
Right.
This may be a very broad stroke here with this, and I'm sure I'm missing something in it.
We are definitely on the same wavelength.
But I don't understand. Like, they should. Somebody from Sony, please tell me. I don't understand your logic. Other than the fact that, like I said, they're gonna this entire year basically is still gonna be PS4 games, just upscaled to PS5.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I want to do a quick shout out to somebody who deserves it, in my opinion, for my personal sanity. Before we get into this, back when the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, everything was like being talked about. There's one guy who's like, I think I'm gonna get a PC. And that I'm not going wherever you think I'm going. That guy's name is, you guys know him as Philbilly330. Phil, I just want to say right now, man, you talked me into getting a PC, and I don't know if I'm going to thank you for everything in life. I don't know what I'll thank you for, but this is one thing, 100%, I'm going to say thank you, man, because now that I'm in PC, I am so happy. I've never been so happy to be in PC, especially on this generation, because, man, I feel like I caught a rope right before I fell into the fire. Like, right before I fell into the fire. Like, that's what I feel like. Or somebody picked me up in a helicopter off a train right before that train hit another train. This is a fucking train wreck release.
You lead a very adventurous life.
I do. It really isn't. It's not. But... So getting into the PlayStation thing, we'll start with the PlayStation. I mean, this has been a total shit release, and I just want to echo the fact that I've been saying for the last year, going over a year now, that they tried to release these systems too soon. But aside from that, yes, what the fuck, man? The whole thing is it's a chip shortage. And sure, you're going to need different chips for different things. I get that, but it all comes from the same fucking factory in Thailand. It's all from the same place. I don't understand how making PS4s is easier than making PS5s. Well, that's not true. I don't understand how, because the one thing they're missing is these silicate chips. Like, that's the whole point. It's the whole reason everything's taking so long. So... Why? Unless does PlayStation have a ton of silicate chips that they're not telling people about, and they're just purposely have been making shitty amounts of game systems, so now they're going to make PS4s with them? And even in that case, why not just make more PlayStation 5s? I don't understand how, if you can get this thing that you need to make both, but for some reason you can make this, the older one, and not the newer one. Like, it's crazy cakes to me. It's like 1 + 2 = sausage. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And I don't understand why more people aren't outraged with PlayStation right now. I mean, their first step in all of this, their number one step is their standing ground. Just like you said, their standing ground was, We make console generations. That's what we do. We're going to make a new console generation. You're going to buy that system. We're going to leverage that technology to give you the best gaming experience that you can get. The other system, being Microsoft in this case, cannot do that because they're jumping from system to system to system in the way they do with all their games. We're going to leverage it. We're going to give you the best game. And we're going to do that with Horizon. We're going to do that with God of War. Okay, then they backpedaled. Well, we're going to make those for PS4 now. Wait, motherfucker. You said you couldn't make those for PS4 because you're leveraging the technology with them. You said that it was physically impossible for you to put those on PlayStation 4, but now you're doing it because you realize there's not enough PlayStation 5s to make money off of it. And now you're making more of a PlayStation 4. And I'm sorry, I've been on a little bit of a rant here, but what fucking person... I had this conversation with Melissa the other day when we were Christmas shopping, right? Yeah. Follow me with this, Neil. When we were Christmas shopping, we were in a GameStop. We were buying a controller for somebody. And in the GameStop, well, we were looking for a controller. We actually didn't get it at this GameStop, but we were talking to one person, and a dad, a very obviously not gamer dad, came in and asked to buy a PlayStation 5, in which there was a cacophony of giggles, which only seemed to enrage him. He was like, I don't understand why everyone's laughing. And they're like, there are no PlayStation 5s. It's like a unicorn. And he was like, well, what can I get? That's what my kid wants. I told my wife I'd pick it up for him. Okay, your kid's not getting the PlayStation 5. He's like, well, what can I get? And the guy tells him, he's like, look, if he has a PlayStation 4, he's not going to need to upgrade. But I'm telling me and my wife were talking about this because at that point we kind of were like, we're getting out of here. It's too hard to explain this to this guy. Like, we're leaving, and I was like, I mean, he's right. He doesn't need to upgrade. Everything's coming out on PlayStation 4. And my wife's like, yeah, but there's a kid, 10 to 13 or whatever, who asked for a PlayStation 5. Do you think he gives a shit that, like, he doesn't need to upgrade? Do you think if, like, the dad wrapped up a box with a little insignia on it that said, you don't need to upgrade, and then he opened that and he was like, surprise, you've got the same stuff you used to have. Like, he's not going to be happy. He wants a PlayStation 5. He's not going to get a PlayStation 5. And I know I've taken a really roundabout way to get to my point, but if you want a PlayStation 5, you're not going to go out and buy a PlayStation 4. You're just not. That's not going to happen. That doesn't exist in the world. If you've decided I'm going to go buy a PlayStation 5, whether you're a new player or an old player, you're not going to go out and buy a PlayStation 4. That's not what you want. You're not going to be like, I'll go buy the system that's 8 years old just because. Even grandmas won't do that. Like, unless they get confused. Like, they're not going to do it. Little Timmy wants a PlayStation 5. He doesn't want a PlayStation 4. Like, that's just the simple fact. Why are you making stuff people don't want? If you can't make the PlayStation 5s, sucks. But why are you making PlayStation 4s? There's no point to it. Nobody wants it. Everybody who wanted it has it. And everybody who doesn't have it or has it wants a PlayStation 5. They don't want another one of those. I don't get it. You hear where I'm coming from on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that this is a perfect splitting off point to go to the Microsoft end.
Sure, which is pretty fucking stupid.
So now Microsoft, who also, can't put out...
Keep talking for a sec. I gotta get a water. I'm not gonna be able to rant for this.
Oh, no, you're fine. Microsoft, who can't put out enough Series X's, who has already discontinued the Xbox One X, the high-end Xbox One version of the Xbox One, has now decided as well they're going to discontinue all Xbox Ones. So the fact that the Xbox One X doesn't exist anymore is already bizarre enough, because I would have discontinued the lower tiers, because they can't necessarily handle things like the One X could. And here we are in an ecosystem that has been built around, hey, your stuff works, it's just not going to work as well as the newer stuff.
Right.
Someday, one day, you're going to have to upgrade, adopting the cell phone model essentially.
Right.
But, we're actually going to remove that option. So we're not actually telling you, hey, maybe you can, use what you got, or like, oh, you have an original OG launch Xbox One. Oh, you want to get an Xbox One S? no, sorry, Series S is going to be your only option unless you luck out and find a Series X, maybe buy a used 1X somewhere. I don't understand, because then Microsoft has hammered this point home from the jump whenever they announced what it is that their generation, quote unquote, is going to look like moving forward. Completely contradicting that by, having some games, they had already said that eventually some games aren't going to be able to, run.
Right.
But having some games that are very, very, like they can barely run at all anyways, to the point that, you can turn it on and boot it up, but it's not going to run and function proper. We look at something like Cyberpunk. I don't know. When you played Control, what did you play it on your Xbox, or was it on the PC?
I can't remember. I think that might have been the last Xbox game I played it on, but I'm not sure.
I
played it on PC. I played it on PC. I
played it on my OG Xbox One, and I gotta tell you, it was not a fun experience. It was constantly hitching, freezing, crashing. So, I mean, you can play it, quote unquote, but you can't necessarily play it. So here's, on one end, Sony is giving you the things that you already have and don't necessarily need, because they've botched or want, basically, because they've botched their entire phrasing on that end. And then we have Microsoft on this end, who is like, you can do all the things with all your stuff, ... if you can find it, LOL, have fun, and just taking away your options.
So it's almost the same stupid from a different angle.
Yeah.
Just like we just said with Sony PlayStation, they planted their flag. They're like, we're console generations, baby. We're going to leverage the technology, yada, yada, yada. Microsoft did the opposite. That was the whole point, is they planted their flag in compatibility, backwards compatibility, forwards compatibility. You can play this on the old systems. You can play this with game streaming on your fucking phone. You can play this on your PC. You can play this on the new systems in high definition. It's great. All right, cool. That's really cool. Then they immediately discontinued, and I don't know if you remember this, but they immediately discontinued the most powerful of the old systems. For some reason,
I mentioned that when you were getting water.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Sorry if I go over it again. I had to. Like my throat just dried, and I was like, "There's no way I'm making it through this."
Yeah.
But they immediately discontinued their most powerful system, keeping in play the lesser powerful systems of the old ones, which makes no sense right there. Why are any of those guns, let alone the first one to go the most powerful of the old systems, to then focus on the new systems and basically saying, we're just going to be about console generations now. What is fucking happening, Microsoft? What are you doing? What are you accomplishing by this? Discontinuing old systems doesn't do you any good because you've planted your flag in it. And while I understand where you're coming from, like the games don't necessarily work great on the old systems, the other thing is you're in Games Pass on a system, you've got xCloud, they'll work better on there than they probably will on your Xbox One. Like, that's kind of the point of those things anymore. So, like, I don't understand this move. I don't understand why moving against your ideology, especially when we are still smack dab in the middle of this chip shortage, which only seems to be getting worse and worse. Why would you then suddenly say, oh, none of the shit that was available before is going to be available? Do you just want to be different? I don't understand. Like, it almost felt like, and it can't possibly be this, but it almost felt like somebody told Phil that PlayStation was like, hey, we're going to start making, we're going to start going back and forth between the things. And Phil was like, well, I don't want to do it if they're doing it. So they just went the other way. And I don't understand this. Like, what's interesting to me, though, with this whole thing is, the chip shortage and all of this pandemic stuff has kind of made them into the same company.
Yeah.
Like, their ideologies are almost like the Venn diagram is moving slowly, more and more. Like, at this point, like, you remember when this whole thing started? Not the pandemic, but the console generation. The whole thing was the three companies had three different ideologies. That was the point.
Yeah.
It's not about exclusives anymore. It's about PlayStation is a console generation. They're leveraging new technology. Xbox is play on whatever you have, get the new one if you want. Nintendo is portability and family stuff. Like, that was the thing. I feel like the only one who's held true to their ideology, for better or worse, is Nintendo.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. What else is there to say about this level of dumb?
And the absolute worst part of literally all of this, as one of those very, very lucky few who managed to get my hands on both a Series X and a PS5, there's nothing. There's like nothing out there for it. I mean, yeah, Halo Infinite runs great on the Series X. You know, when I did the beta, granted it was from an older build, but I mean, all things considered, it ran fine on my Xbox One S. And then we're over here on the PlayStation to where the only thing that we really have we do have Deathloop now for the PS5. So, I mean, I guess there's that. That's the first true next-gen game that we have for the PS5. And that's about it. I mean, Horizon comes out next month. I'm hype as hell about that, but it doesn't count in this discussion because it's coming to the PS4 anyways.
Right. Exactly. I mean, really, what is it? Ratchet and Clank? That's what you got going for you on PS5, you know?
Right. It's almost... This might be a little bit of a weird analogy, but it's the first one that popped into my head. But it's almost like getting a Tesla. If you don't have the infrastructure within your home to, you know, charge the Tesla and actually enjoy it, you have to plug it into a standard wall plug. It takes like a day and a half to charge one from a standard wall plug.
Right.
You are not getting the experience that you think you are getting by buying something that does not have the full infrastructure to support it.
Right.
The infrastructure in this case being the software that really justifies everything in the first place. Yeah. In the analogy, you know, you need one of those super fast, crazy chargers installed in your home to be able to really, you know, have a Tesla be something that you could use as a daily driver.
Right.
If not, it's something that you can only drive every other day. You know, it's something that you're not getting its full potential out of it because you don't have what you need to get that full potential. And that's where we're at right now with these current generations. Now, Microsoft is on their way too. I mean, Starfield, whenever that does eventually come out, is apparently going to be like a Series X/PC exclusive. It's not going to run on the Xbox One.
Okay.
So we are approaching that point, but we are already over a year into the lifespan of these consoles.
Yeah. Do you remember when when PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was out and they discontinued the 360 and the PlayStation 3? Everybody had a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, or at least the sign-on rate for it was way higher. Like right now, it's really interesting. Like, you're entering this weird void and vacuum where like there's none of the old systems, but there's none of the new systems. Like, it's kind of strange. Like, you're in almost the death of console gaming, and I don't think it's gonna die. Don't quote me on that, but like, it feels like that. If I was a console gamer right now, it would feel like that to me, because one of two things happens. Either I couldn't get the new systems and the support for my system is going away, or I got the new system and there's just an empty field of nothing, you know, to really make me need it. You know, I don't know. It's very it's like a desert. It's like console gaming is a desert right now.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like, I feel like a lot of this pessimism and everything that we're dealing with is a result of like extenuating circumstances with, you know, the past 2+ years and chip shortage and everything. But at the same time, you can absolutely also argue they did not have to announce or release, rather, the consoles when they did, as you've said before. You know, the chip shortage started happening shortly after the pandemic started.
Yep.
Everybody started buying up all this stuff, and the writing was essentially on the wall, but we're like, no, it's fine. Granted, nobody can look into the crystal ball and see what the future holds and how long everything was going to last, but it would have been simple for them to be like, look, we're just going to delay our shit. But you know what? I can guarantee you why nobody did that. Guaranteed, because they didn't want to be the console that got delayed while the other one still held to their release date.
And that was the fucking stupid thing, because I'm telling you right now, if I'm Xbox or PlayStation and I delay and the other one's like, ha, we're going to release, and then they're in that quagmire when I release a year later and I've got enough actual units to go around. Like, the other thing is too, and you already touched on it, but I want to echo it. The pandemic started 8 months before these consoles came out. And the chip shortage we were well aware of it like 2 months into that pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And not to mention, Thailand was already heavily affected by that way before it came to us. So, like, the idea that their analysts, like, who are, like, professional, they have way more data than this, thought that release date was a good idea after all that information. I mean, sure, there'd be a lot of fanboys on both sides who'd be like, wait, we gotta wait another year? Fuck that shit. But at the same time, those fanboys would have gotten over it because they could have gotten it the next year, and they could have at least had maybe a couple of games to play on it. Although, interestingly enough, in my personal opinion, I don't even think that we should be maybe having these new systems this year. So much stuff got delayed in 2021. What really came out to leverage any of that hardware anyway? Like, even if those consoles had come out in 2021, what good would it have done anyone? None. You'd still be in the same desert space. You just have more units to sell people, which is probably good. People would be happier on that front, but you still don't have any games to leverage anything, Right. Like, I don't think they should have come out until this year, honestly, because there's just nothing. There was nothing in the pipeline last year. There was no reason to do it. Plus, and on the Xbox front, that's something I'm super pissed off about. The Xbox One X, man, that was one of the most powerful systems. I thought about getting it, and they discontinued it so fast, our heads spun. And why discontinue that one? I understand an Xbox One going out, when, that's fine. It's all, like, the old ones, it's fine. They're done. Or even the Series S. But to leverage the one that's closest to your next generation, to get rid of that first, and then keep around the lower models, it just didn't make any sense to me. And it's been stupid, a level of stupid through the whole thing, personally.
I actually think, come to think of it, I could be wrong on this, but I think the specs for the One X were comparable to the Series S, but the One X had a disk drive.
Yep.
And I think they discontinued it to try to shepherd people towards the inevitable all-digital future.
I don't think you're wrong at all. Again, I am so happy to be in the PC ecosystem. I'm telling anybody out there, and you're kind of screwed now because of chip shortage hurts graphics cards. But when the time comes for you to get a new system, spend the extra money, man. Just buy a PC and be done with those console generations. Like, just be done with them. They're not worth it. It's not worth it. Ugh.
And you know what? Just to cap this off.
Yeah, cap it off, and then we'll move on.
Just to cap this off real quick, because you bring up the PC thing, they're already talking about the next video cards. They're talking about the 40 series.
Yeah.
Already.
Fucking
they're
stupid.
Putting out beefed up versions of the 3080 and the 3090s that people can't even get their hands on. I mean, for shit's sake, I had to spend $550 on my standard RTX 2060.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that was not from a scalper or anything. That was from an actual store, an actual micro center.
Yeah, CES was a joke this year.
Yeah, we're already over here talking about the RTX 40 series cards. Get away. Go away.
I think we are headed for a serious crash in technology. I'm not gonna lie. And like, I mean, Like, do you realize the amount of money those companies spent just to tell us about these graphics cards that they literally cannot make, produce, or sell?
Oh, I'm sure.
Like how much money are they spending on these things that they're literally making nothing back on? If the pandemic lasts one more year, we're going to start seeing the fall of tech companies because they're not going to be able to make their overhead on what they're doing. Like it's spending without any sort of recoupment on their payments, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane, especially on the graphics cards front. So like I'm real scared about that. Real scared about that. That's the one thing about PC gaming that makes me nervous is that, like, when the time comes to upgrade, will there be graphics cards? Because these fucking companies are out of their goddamn gourds. But, alright, we gotta move on. Let's get to odds and ends, brother.
Alrighty.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Alright, so that brings us to our final segment, odds and ends. This is where me and Neil collect smaller news stories, no less important. We want to tell you guys about, we want to riff about, we want to say something about them, but they're just not big enough for a talking point, so we put them here. Neil has 5, I only have 2. So instead of trying like go back and forth on this and figure out how many we got to do, I'm just going to do my 2. And then Neil will go with his forest. So, Neil.
Forest.
Well, and mine might mark 1 or 2 off. I don't know. You know, we never know. My first one, I definitely took match of this because this was one that Asylum 66 was looking forward to. I have some bad news for you, Asylum 66. We were talking specifically about it. It's why it stuck in my head. But Stalker 2 has been delayed from summer to late Q4, like December, like around Christmas is what they're saying, which... Not gonna lie, usually when something gets delayed till around Christmas, you end up seeing it in February. Not to be an absolute negative Nancy, but they've said they need more time to fix it, yada yada yada. So just to let you know, that one's been delayed. Like I said, we talked about it. Asylum said it's one of his most exciting, one of the games he's most excited for, and I don't know, it struck in my craw that I saw it and wanted to say something about it. My next one is an interesting one. Riot Games. We talked about them last week too because they just settled their harassment lawsuit. They're actually taking the company in a different way, but they've got this really, really cool kind of policy that they put in called the Q dodge. Have you ever heard of that?
I believe I know what it is that you're talking about.
Okay, well the idea is that with the initial premise of the Q dodge is that if you start working, and it's really cool, if you start working at Riot and you're working there for like 2 months or whatever, like less than 2 months, like you're new there, and you don't like the job or what it presents to you, like maybe you don't like the hours, maybe you don't like the direction, maybe you don't like what they're working on, whatever, you can basically take the Q dodge, which basically they pay out a percentage of your I think it's like your retirement or it's like a big severance to basically they pay extra salary to you so that you can be off work and go find another job, which I think is really cool. But they're extending the Q dodge to anybody who has ever worked at the company. And I think this is interesting. I think this is kind of a way, I think this is also secretly a way to balance out the harassment stuff. I think, and I'm actually gonna give them props for this because I think what happened is they settled the lawsuit and they're basically saying, look, if you're still not comfortable working here, we get it. We're gonna pay your way to go have you find another job. I think that's really cool. I think that just the idea of that is really cool. Basically, they're saying to everybody, because they're going in a different direction or something, which I don't know that they're actually going in a different direction, but they've extended it to any employee in the company can take this Q dodge policy, which basically says, hey, I don't want to work here anymore, creative differences, whatever, don't even have to cite something, and they'll be like, all right, here's a percentage of your pay so that you can go somewhere else and be fine. And I think that's really cool. I mean, I think overall it's more than just an average severance, everybody out there. I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, that's just severance pay, but it's more than that. So I think it's really cool. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like, it costs a lot to train people sometimes. As somebody who recently, started a new job, I had basically an entire month's worth of training. And on top of that, I still have like a 2-month window where I'm still like, I'm considered as training, but like it's like they go easy on you basically.
Right.
So as a result, like it takes a lot to train somebody, from a financial standpoint as well as time standpoint for a company. If you have something like that and a policy that also allows somebody to be like, hey, I'm not feeling it, I'm going to go look for something else. They also know what the turnover is going to be like immediately, instead of, if somebody's looking for a new job, typically they're doing it in secret and they're not saying anything. And then all of a sudden, surprise, either it's like they don't ever show up again, or like, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm not going to be here anymore. And it puts a lot of extra stress on other people, which I'm not saying that that solves Riot's or any other, company's problems, but it definitely is something that can help, the sort of system. Riot's done some nasty things, but like you said, like this is something really cool, positive, and forward thinking. So yeah, I definitely give them props on this too.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I personally, like I said, tinfoil hat on. I think this is kind of a way to be like, hey, you were harassed here. If you don't want to work here anymore, we want to allow you the chance to leave, with no hard feelings. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's part of this, honestly. But overall, I think it's a really cool thing. It's a cool practice, and it should continue. I agree with you. I think it helps both too. I think it does really help with the not having the everything you just said. But you may continue with yours now. I don't know. My train hit the mountain there.
Yeah. No, you're fine. All right. Well,
how many of these are going to make me super mad? Can I ask you that right now? How much is my blood pressure going to go up here?
I don't know. Some of them are kind of blood pressure-y. Some of them aren't.
Okay. All right.
So the first one I think is just hilarious. We all know Fortnite has not been on the Apple Store for a hot minute with the whole lawsuit and everything along those lines. So it's been a Fortnite drought for iOS users. But guess what? It's coming back, and not in a official the app is back on the storefront capacity. It's going to be playable on the iPhones and iPads via the NVIDIA streaming service that can be run through Safari.
Wait,
what? On phones.
What's coming back?
Fortnite. Fortnite has not been on.
Oh wait, okay, I heard
iPhones.
About this. Yeah.
You'll be able to do it on Android too, but it's like, hey, whatever. That's not what's important here. What's important is the fact that you'll be able to play Fortnite on your iPhone again, in a way that Apple can do nothing about. And I just think that's just hilarious.
It is kind of hilarious. Even though I hate Epic, it is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, same. Yeah, so all of this happened. So you'll be able to run GeForce Now. Granted, they're about to go into a closed beta to see how well it can run and server capacity and everything. But there's always a way around something, dudes. There's always a way around something. I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I think absolutely, like, one thing about those two companies is I find it hysterical how childish they are. Like, it is like the most school ground silliness between the two of them that are like, I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's like name calling on a playground, but two multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. All right, continue.
So, moving on. Lego has delayed an Overwatch 2 set over the issues over at Activision Blizzard. So,
heard about this.
Yet another company is kind of taking a stand against Activision Blizzard. And I'm actually going to use this to segue right into the next one.
I wish you didn't bring this up, but okay. All right.
I think you already know where I'm going with this one.
I do, and I have some thoughts on it, and I'm going to end up saying them, and they're probably not going to be the most popular, so let's just get it over with.
So, Yeah, so Phil Spencer has made some comments about everything that's going on, and he's taking a really hard, firm stance, so hard and so firm against Activision Blizzard by saying that, oh, we won't put up with that sort of stuff, and we've changed how we work with them, ... But Xbox isn't really into virtue shaming because they've not necessarily had a great past either. And it's not their job to punish other developers. So essentially, he's using the glass houses casting stones argument and against themselves, basically. That is the weak sauce ass statement ever. What happened? So, like, he went from saying, like, we don't approve of this. Everybody, the big three had come out and effectively had some sort of memo or statement along the lines of, hey, we do not approve of what they're doing over there, what's going on over there. And did Bobby Kotick himself call them up and be like, hey, do you, like, just not want Diablo 4 or what?
I don't think Bobby Kotick called him. I think the I've said this before. I think their memo was bullshit PR. I think this backs it up. I do have some things to say. Probably won't be popular, so I'm just gonna get them out there. Number one, here's what Xbox should have done. Okay, because I'm okay with Xbox saying we're not here to virtue shame and we're not here to police other developers. I'm completely okay with that. I'm not okay. I want to make this part very clear. I am not okay with sexual harassment or sexual shit in the workplace. I am not okay with anything Activision Blizzard does. We're speaking directly about other developers and their response to Activision Blizzard. If Xbox wants to say, hey, we're not here to police them, that's fine. You're not here to police them. You are a company who is there to make money. You have a business arrangement with them. Their internal policies don't necessarily have to be your business. That is fine. And I'm going to say this, and this is the part that's not popular. That is okay. Now, with that being said, if this is the way Xbox wanted to do it, this is how Xbox should have done it. They should have asked, no internal memo bullshit. They should have straight up said, we do not condone sexual harassment in the workplace. We do not have sexual harassment in our workplace. We are not here to virtue shame, and we are not here to police other developers. What happens in their company has nothing to do with us. That's fine. I would have been like, fine. You've set your sail. That's fine. You're not a police organization. You're not a government organization. You're not any sort of organization that needs to be policing people. You don't have to do that. It's not necessarily in your wheelhouse. Here's the problem, though. You decided to release an internal memo that said, we've got to look at Activision because of the shit they're doing. And then you had somebody leak that, and don't tell me you didn't, because you did. I don't need a tinfoil hat to be right about that. And that puts you on the other side. You did that for PR. And this clearly points out that you did that for PR. I said it before when we were having this kind of debate about the big three, and I think everybody thought my opinion was kind of unpopular that it was a PR play. I think this kind of backs up my play that it was a PR play, and I think that it's the same argument. You either get involved or you don't, okay? Is your company going to take a stand against this, or is it not? I don't necessarily blame a company for not taking a stand against this for some other company. That's not your business. That's not why companies exist. They're not there to police people. What I don't like is this perceived, like, hey, maybe we'll get involved in this, and maybe we don't like this. It's like they're trying to ride the wave of public opinion, and that's bullshit. Like, you teased getting involved in it. If you're not there to police it, why are you sending internal memos to your company saying we need to look at our contracts with them? If you're not there to virtue shame, why are you even discussing that? You're not there to virtue shame. Have a policy, stick to it. It's that simple. It's that simple. And this is this wishy-washy bullshit, and this is what I said back in the day. None of these companies are going to do anything against Activision. None of them. And they never were. It was never their plan to. It was never their plan to fix this. They released those memos to look good with us. That's it. It's the only reason they did it.
Yeah, and that's the big issue that I have, as well. Like I said, I don't there's no.
Thank you. I was afraid you were going to be very against.
No, there's no place at all for anything that's going on over at Activision
Blizzard.
Literally anywhere. And Xbox, like you said, Microsoft, they had that internal memo, we won't do that, this, that, and the other. And then they're like, oh, well, it's not our job to, be the police of, the world and, ethics and this, that, and the other. Yeah, you know what? You're completely right. It is not your job. Right. That also said, you need to take your stance with it so we know what your stance is.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what they're doing is they're playing to both sides of it because they don't want to upset one side or another.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. And I'm so glad. I was very afraid that you were I was very afraid I was going to be walking a plank on my own on this one. It's 100%. It's wishy-washy bullshit. If you don't want to get involved, don't get involved. Nobody's going to be people might get pissed at you, but take a stance and be done with it.
And that's the thing is if they wanted to stick to what they had originally said, they come out and say, "Hey, we are not for this. We are totally against this, that, and the other." They're worried about sort of PR blowback from that. Mm-hmm. Now, I do think that is the official stance that they should take. I should clarify that, of course, and make that absolutely firm that they should have made that statement that they don't want to be involved with anything that's going on while Bobby Kotick is still there and things are how they are. But at the same time, you cannot, like you said, they probably intentionally, leaked that memo. You can't do that for the PR on that front and then a couple weeks later turn around and be like, oh, it's actually our job to nod, wink. Hey, we see you guys over here in the other sect who are going to be upset about it. Don't worry. You don't know what we're actually thinking.
Right.
Well, actually, we know what they are thinking.
Right.
We know that they are just company who is looking out for company.
Right.
And that is it. They are trying to protect their bottom line. And that's just how companies are. They know the PR stuff, and that's what they're pulling in this instance. Right. And that's the biggest issue with it, I think.
I agree with you on that. I will disagree with you on one thing. I don't necessarily want them to take a stance against Activision, like publishing Activision games. Because I 100% don't want companies policing what's going on there. I don't want that. I don't want that because companies are susceptible to money. That's what companies care about. So if a company is policing another company, it's all about money. And I don't want that. I want Activision to go down. I want people to put eyes on it that need to put eyes on it. And that's not company. And I hate to say it, but it's government. I don't like government. But those are the people who need to be handling this. This is what the government needs to be doing. Not another company. I don't want Xbox to get involved, honestly. I don't want any of them to get involved. I want Activision to go down with higher authorities than people who answer to the almighty dollar. Because Activision is the almighty dollar in fucking gaming. So I don't want the people who are in charge of policing Activision to be susceptible to money. Does that make sense to you? I want people to step in and do something about this. And that's what I would like. I don't want Xbox to be in charge of Activision. Or even trying to police Activision and that was one of the problems I had in the beginning, because if they are trying to police them, they're not trying to police them to do what's right. They're trying to police them to make money or make PR. That's what they're doing. That's what all these companies are doing. That's the only goal of that memo. It's the only goal of everything they say is to make as much money for as little as they possibly can. That is every company's goal out there. Maybe that's insidious, maybe it isn't. But that's what a company is. That's what they're there for. So put people on them that should be on them. Fuck it, fine. Xbox, stay out. I don't want to hear from Xbox in this. I want Xbox to shut the fuck up. I want PlayStation to shut the fuck up. I want the people who matter to be talking about it, and those are the people who aren't talking about it. Those are the people who are slapping them with $1 million fines that don't matter. I mean, Like, don't get me wrong, if Bobby Kotick is on a board for something and you're not dismissing him from a board, you are a bad business person. Right?
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola immediately got rid of him. You're a bad business person if Bobby Kotick is on your board, right? But if Bobby Kotick is not in your company, shut up. Shut up and or take the stand. Well, that's the problem. They're never going to take a stance that's like the people who need to get involved need to get involved. They're never going to, like, a company's never going to be like, we're making a call out as a statement to people to get involved to shut down Activision or to arrest Bobby Kotick or to make this right. They're never going to do that. That's the problem. Everything a company does is for money, period. So anytime one of these companies comes up with this like self-righteous shit, it's nothing but self-righteous bullshit and placating, and it's trying to get you, the consumer, to like them better, to look at them like they're a hero when they're not. They don't care about you. They don't care about Bobby Kotick. They don't care about what is happening in Activision. The only thing they care about is money and their bottom dollar. And if they can make money off the Activision thing, or the Activision is going to cost them money. That's it. That's it.
Right.
Right. Okay. I didn't know if you were going to agree. There was like a pause, and I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here?
It was to the point to where I kind of said what I had to say about it.
You know, I just want to say, and I know this one is going long. This is such a hard thing to talk about. I hate that it's so. Just on a side note, I hate that it's so wormed into the gaming industry right now, because it's such a hard thing to have a discussion about, because it's a terrible human rights violation. So like, and you and I, two asshole gamers who sit in their basement and podcast about it, have to make some discussion like we even know what's best. You know what I mean? And all we can do is look at the subject and try and relay the facts the best we can. I just hate this shit. I hate it. I hate that it's in gaming. I hate that it's anywhere, but I hate that it's in the thing that we have to talk about right now, you know? Just shitty. Yeah. It's just shitty. It makes me sad. It makes me sad inside that, like, this, you know, that this is such a thing, that this is such, it's going on, that this could be taking place in our industry. I hate it. And don't get me wrong, I'm a 40-year-old guy who's been around. I know that this shit happens everywhere. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just sad that, like, we as a society are dealing with this. You know what I mean? Like, it just sucks. It just sucks on a whole that anybody has to go through this, or has to discuss this, or has to even put this in their mind that this is a thing that they have to think about in a day. It's terrible. It's a terrible, fucking awful thing. And personally, Bobby Kotick should be dragged out in the street and shot. He should. He's a terrible, awful person. I would put him up there with murderers. And that's crazy. But I would. It's terrible. This shit is terrible. It just needs to fucking stop. We're better than this. Like, as a people, as a society, we're better than this. You know?
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. Okay. Got like a single tear rolling down my cheek right now, but it's just, you see what I'm saying, right? Like, it's just,
I do.
I don't know. I'm just, I know I'm not the oldest guy in the world, but I'm too old to still be seeing people do this shit to each other, you know?
Well, I also hate to say this, but, you know, save the anger for
God damn
a
it.
couple weeks. No, I don't have anything else about it.
Okay. All right.
But that's the thing. I hate that I just made the joke about it, because that's the unfortunate truth of this.
It is.
Give it a week.
Yeah, give it a week.
Give it 2 weeks. I'm sure there will be something else about it.
Well, and if we just did like a Popular Times podcast, we would be nonstop talking about sexual shit. You know what I mean? Like, or just terrible human rights violations. Like, I don't know. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. Like, I know a lot of people are out there like, what is this guy born yesterday? I'm not. It's just, I'm exhausted with it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm exhausted with it.
Yeah. Well, now that we've very thoroughly covered that.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's great.
So, moving on, an early build of Horizon Forbidden West has leaked online.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, it's since been taken down from a file hosting site, but you know how the internet works, and it's already out in the wild. So everybody be careful out there because there are purportedly some spoilers contained within that. So be careful when you're on the interwebs.
Yeah.
And then, let me see here. Yeah, moving on to my final one. There's actually rumors that Sony has pushed back its next big exclusive reveal so that they can focus more on the re-reveal of Final Fantasy XVI this spring. Their main concern is diverting the focus toward Final Fantasy XVI so that the big mystery reveal can have its own time in the spotlight. I can only imagine what that could possibly mean. But yeah, I don't know. That's bizarre to me. I kind of feel like, we already knew that Final Fantasy 16 was a thing. Granted, we haven't seen it in like a year. I think it has been a year.
Yeah.
And they're going to re-reveal it, and it might come out this year, ? Like, I don't know. Like, especially if they plan on re-revealing it this spring, that may be pointing towards a state of play event sometime here in the semi-near future. But still, I don't know. Here we are about that hype thing again. They're so concerned about the hype of some other game that it's going to detract from something else.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's something that's a direct competitor to Final Fantasy 16, I don't know what it is that they'd be concerned about. But
they are straight up, like, I mean, the industry is built on hype. It's built on pyramid schemes. Like, even though there is a product there, that's what it is. It's all about the perception of what you think you're going to get. Because once they've sold it to you, they know that you're not going to give it back. Like, you can't. They've made walls around it to the point where, like, you can't give it back. You can't get your money back. So, like, that's what this industry is, and that's what Final Fantasy 16 is. I think that there's an interesting couple of groups of video games. There are video games that are going to come out this year. There are video games that might come out this year. And then there are video games that may never come out ever in the history period. I saw a tweet the other day from, I think it was produced by the Game Awards, but it was just like, what's the one thing you want to see from Playground Games Fable? And I actually responded to it as Old Man Gaming, and I was like, I just want to see it come out before I die of old age.
Yeah, at this point, like, something. Like, anything?
Yeah, anything? Like, what? Like, I'd like to see anything other than a toad eating a fairy. Like, and
because
speak of year from the reveal, we got that trailer over a year ago, too.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say, if I remember correctly, it was either in that trailer or shortly thereafter, they had mentioned that they're shooting for a 22 window for it.
Yep.
That's all fine and good, but at the same time, we've heard 100% zero about it since. Not even another CG teaser trailer, whatever. And I mean, that's fine. That kind of falls within the realm of what you've talked about before. The next time we see it, we want to see gameplay and then have some sort of solid date behind it. But at the same time, if we follow that logic, we can right now say, hey, guys, we're making the announcement. Halo 20 is coming out.
Right.
And we never hear anything at all about it for years and years and years and years and years. And then, like, 40 years in the future, they show us gameplay of it. Like, okay, yeah, it still follows that formula, but maybe, just maybe, it was a tad too early to be talking about it.
Yep. I think that, like, if that game, like, if we see a trailer for it in, like, June or July, and then it comes out in October, awesome. I'm all for that. I will eat my words. I will happily say on the podcast immediately following it that no matter what that game is, the way they released it is great. I don't believe that for a second. I don't think we're seeing that game anytime soon. I think Playground just finished Horizon 5. They're still doing support for it. I don't think anybody's even been working on it. I think they finished hiring for it last year. So, like, I don't foresee that game anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right.
No, definitely not.
So we're done on odds and ends, right? We can go to plugs?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, anything you'd like to plug this week?
Nothing out of the ordinary other than Halo Infinite Road is still chugging along there. We are a little over halfway through Halo Reach, so there's that. And then at some point we will probably be considering what we're going to do in regard to Halo Infinite War sort of situation.
Yes.
Which is something that I'm literally just now mentioning and have not mentioned to Zach at all, I'm now realizing. So I'm kind of springing it on him at the same time. But we'll be considering that here soon, what that's going to look like. I don't know if we're going to do a whole multiplayer group thing like we've done in the past, or I know you and I have talked about doing Firefight as a live stream, which is definitely an option as well. I do want to do that at
some point.
So, yeah, we're still plugging away at that. And then, as previously stated, I believe in the OMFD as well, and we've talked about it before too, chances are we're only going to do Halo 4, and then that's going to be it. With the caveat of if there's a way to play Halo 5 via streaming on the PC or something along those lines, we'll jump in through and do that one as well. And Zach's already said he's not going to do Infinite ever, and I won't even attempt to try to force him to do such.
I'm not playing Infinite, but I will say this: we'll probably do a stream for Halo Infinite War again. That really went well last time, I felt like. We can probably get Phil Billy and Filthy Phil in it again. Maybe a couple other people. We'll have to see. But that went. Kayla, I'm sure, would want to play it.
She loves it.
We could probably get a stream going for that again. And as far as the firefight goes, I'm game anytime for that firefight. As long as I've got the night free, I would be definitely down to do that. But I'm not going to say that we're definitely going to do that on the show because you never know.
Right.
Halo Infinite War is chugging along. I would like to personally promote... Well, if you're listening to this, I just put up my review for Naraka Blade Point, the close combat battle royale, which I am absolutely in love with right now. It's a sweet game. Please check that out. Prelude to Divorce has me and Melissa playing her favorite childhood board game, but through Steam, which is the Game of Life. It's really funny. Please check it out. I'm very proud of those Let's Plays, and the audio actually came out good, which is rare. At some point this week, either this week or the week after, me and Phil Billy will be coming with our February edition of the 330, and we're playing Wildermyth, so I'm kind of excited about that. And that's really it. Please check out OMG Wrestling. Our view counts have gone down quite a bit on that. I am extremely proud of that show. Tons of work goes into it. Please check it out because I just can't bring myself to make everybody do it for a season 4 if we're getting like 6s and 7s. It's got to be double digits for it, which it has been in the past, but lately it's been pretty rough. So please check out OMG Wrestling. I'm extremely proud of it. I love that show. It comes out Monday afternoon. It's usually about an hour, and it's just good wrestling, good fake wrestling programming. So please check that out. Well, that's it. Nothing else. You guys can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. I have scaled back my streaming on Twitch a bit, but twitch.tv/OldManGamingDH if you want to check me out there. And yeah, guys, as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time.
Fighting with my chair now. I need to file the warranty on this.
File the warranty? You have a warranty on your chair?
Yeah, so it was last Christmas. Kayla got me a new gaming chair.
Okay.
You
said something about that, yeah.
Yeah, because remember I tried to give you my old one.
Yep, and I was like, nope, I'll break it.
Yeah, so I got this one, and she got a warranty with it. And the hydraulic on it is like completely wore out.
Oh no!
Already? I'll be sitting here and I'll just like randomly slowly start sinking down. So then I have to stand up, pop it back up. Sometimes it holds for like 20 minutes, half hour. Sometimes it's like a minute.
That's obnoxious.
It's sinking again. I actually have to. There's a different chair over here. I got to swap over to that real quick. Hold on.
Go for it. Go for it. I don't understand how this world, like America, like its biggest issue is its obesity. Like, you would think that just being a savvy businessman, you would make things for like fat people more. Like, as is, if I want to get pants, I have to go to a special store. Period. There's no other way around it. And as far as chairs go, any chair I sit in breaks, especially gamer chairs. And gamers are notoriously fat, so I don't understand why they break all the fucking time. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why I've got old cranky steel chair here who keeps me up and keeps me balanced and is never broken on me and never moved, because it's literally a brick of steel on wheels that moves around. Neil has not returned, and I thought that was enough talking. Okay, you had? I thought that was enough talking. I just want to make sure.
The thing that sucks is this one's too low. I can't win.